You're listening to the Get Off My Soapbox podcast. Thank you for tuning in. We want to make the world a better place and share life-educated opinions and have discussions on various topics. Welcome your host. He is a jack of all trades, master of none, and always wants to know, how's your integrity today? Mad Morgan!
Hey, it's Wednesday night, folks. Thank you for joining me for episode 7 of Get Off My Soapbox. You know, it's been a rough couple of weeks in my neck of the woods, and today, I don't know, this is kind of one of those off-the-cuff type episodes that we're going to have tonight. And the only thing I could sum it up as far as title goes is human nature, inspiration, and trends. It's the only way I could sum it up this evening. So that's going to be pretty much our topics for tonight's show of Get Off My Soapbox. Let's start out as we always do. How is your integrity today? How has your integrity been all week? Hopefully you have been, becoming the change the world needs in a positive way and influencing others to do positive change to help others and for us all to get along and communicate better. Also, please check out GetOffMySoapbox.com for more information on this show and our daily show of Soapbox Daily. Also, you can see us on Twitter. Find us on Twitter at Mad Soapbox. We are there as well. You'll find all the links to our social media sites on the very top menu of GetOffMySoapbox.com, and you can find your navigation from that point forward. We just expanded over into Facebook as well because it seems to be a good portion of people on Facebook still. So we're trying to get the word out. But you can help us out in a couple ways. You can help us out by sharing our episodes on social media, telling people about our podcast. We'd appreciate that. Or hey, if you want to throw a few bucks our way to help us with our finances and bills, by all means, head on over to Patreon/GetOffMySoapbox and check out our tiers and perks that we have there. Greatly appreciated in advance. Either method you choose to do, whether it's telling people, spreading the word, sharing us on social media, or throwing a few bucks our way, whatever it is, I still want to let you know I appreciate you. I appreciate the effort. So as I mentioned, the last week or two, especially the last week, has been kind of upsetting. It's been an up and down type situation where I guess the word is surreal. In the last 2 weeks, I've had a colleague pass away that I worked with for 8 years. That was kind of a shocker. And, it's interesting. We didn't see eye to eye. We didn't get along, me and him. Seems a lot of people liked the guy. For some reason, he just had it out for me. I was his target. He did not like me for whatever reason. And as he always quoted, he said it was because I was privileged for whatever reason. And he made a racial remark at that point. And I was just like, wow, I guess racism goes both ways. It was sad. And I tried for years to get along with this guy, help him out and everything. But for some reason, he just had a hate on for me. But I didn't wish his fate on him. I wished the best for him. I even tried to give him advice to help him out with his relationships and issues he was going through. But he had medical conditions that he wasn't tending to. He wasn't taking care of himself. And because of that, it caught up with him. And, rest in peace. I hope that he found his peace and happiness wherever he is. And I hope at the point he's at now that, his soul can be put to rest. Other than that, there was a shocker that came but a week later. And that was when Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II passed away. Now, it wasn't really unexpected. She was 90 some odd years old, 96, I believe. And that's a long term. She served for 70 years. I mean, that's a long time. But as you know, when you get to a certain age, if your partner passes on, generally you tend to follow afterwards, which did happen because Prince Philip passed away a year previously. So Queen Elizabeth did her very best to continue on business as normal, got her country through COVID, and this is where she's at now. God rest her soul. Hopefully she found her peace. She served her people well. She served the world well. She was loved and respected by many. Unfortunately, though, there is a naive, ignorant, uncultured element that always saw the monarchy as a waste of money or a waste of time and not needed. And you know what? I agree. Everybody is allowed to their entitlement, or allowed to their opinions. But when I read some really discolored comments like, oh, that old bitch is dead on Facebook, these imbeciles, these low-life scumbags who are trying so hard to be thugs and act all tough and tough-speaking have no idea the commitment required to be in a position of leadership. Obviously not. And it's unfortunate that they have to make such rash, brutal comments towards a woman who served her country. Her whole life was servitude when it came to serving her country and her people. She couldn't have a normal life, constantly in the media, constantly in the camera light for her whole entire life. This is how she had to live. Now, some people might find that fascinating. Oh, I'm famous. I'm rich. I'm this. I'm that. Honestly, it's not what you think it is. It's not what it's all cracked up to be. And people don't understand. It's funny because they can only see from their perspective. That's the problem with human nature. People can only see from their perspective. They don't see the big picture. They don't see both sides of the fence. They can't see or understand the other perspective of people. And that's the biggest problem that we have with human nature. This is our arrogance and our ignorance that just shines when we think that we have all the answers, that we think we understand what people are going through, and we have no empathy, we have no compassion, we jump to conclusions, we make these rash comments, rash actions because we think we understand and we don't. We're ignorant little children who are making snap judgments because we are not taking the time to communicate, to understand, or do research to understand. And that's the problem. And you just come across as stupid. You come across as a freaking idiot when you make rash comments like that, when you have no idea what it's like to be on that side of the fence. But you got to be a thug. You got to be all tough. You got to be all flexing and all that stuff, or whatever lingo the kids are using these days. You got to be it because you think that that's what you have to say because that's going to make you hard and people respect you. No, respecting is earned. Respecting is doing good deeds. Respecting is having integrity. Doing the right thing because you should do it, okay? And doing the right thing is not doing what's going to self-serve yourself. Doing the right thing is what's going to actually serve the majority. Doing the right thing because it's the moralistically right thing to do. Queen Elizabeth didn't choose her position. She didn't choose to serve a whole life what she had to do. It was kind of put on her. She had no choice. She had to do it. So you know what? To all those idiots out there that want to make these rash comments, these harsh comments, to look all tough for their buddies and friends and all that stuff, and like disregard, like you have no honor, no sensitivity or whatever. You know what? You guys are a bunch of freaking morons. Check yourself before you wreck yourself, because honestly, you have no idea what it's like to be in that position. And obviously you're uncivilized and have no sense of honor, no sense of dignity. Okay, I understand. Not everybody's a monarchist. Not everybody understands the position. Not everybody understands that institution. Everybody thinks that their life is more important and they're all entitled and they're better than everybody else and that their opinion matters. This is just the problem with human nature. The biggest problem, as I mentioned earlier, we don't see each other's perspectives. We have a difficulty with communication. We can't understand what everyone else is seeing, and this is why we clash. And because we clash, we get into arguments. Because we get into arguments, there's fights, there's war, there's disagreements, there's violence. Because we're not communicating, because we're not making a point of seeing the other side or understanding people or having empathy or having a sense of communication, we're not doing this. And that's what we have to start doing. We have to learn to communicate. We have to learn to try to see each other's viewpoints. We have to learn to try to see the other side and understand and sit down at the table and work out our problems, work out our differences. Listen, there are powers that be that are pulling strings to keep the working class, the middle class, and the lower class, however you want to look at it when it comes to the wealth that people have. Unfortunately, that's how people are judged. The upper class, the rich 1%, they're trying to keep us worrying because that means there's benefits in the markets that they actually have investments into. It's them that are pulling the strings. Them that are staging, these events and everything else that are caught to cause disturbances between, I don't know why people call it race, but I don't believe in that. But, these cultural differences. Oh, okay, well, you're this, I'm not, I guess the only way I could describe it, the way the media describes it is, they promote the racism. They promote the unrest between minorities and, of course, the police force, because that serves them on a financial investment basis. Whether or not it be gun sales, whether or not it be this, whether or not be that, unfortunately, these puppet masters are pulling the strings. These 1%ers are pulling the strings that are causing the unrest between each other. Everything, and people don't understand this. Everything is just a big stage, and they're catering to you to think a certain way and act a certain way and dress a certain way with trends, right? Okay. So there's these guys in the West Coast, they dress like this. Okay, if I want to be cool like them, I got to wear this clothing. I got to dress like like this. I got to wear my pants down to my knees because that's cool. That's what all the tough guys are doing. Or I got to dress like I'm, working a corner because that's what the girls in the videos are doing. You guys don't understand that's all orchestrated, right? That's all orchestrated to cater to a certain market and keep the money machine going. It keeps unrest. It keeps people on tilt. It really doesn't help human nature because in all of us, we actually have, for the most part, a good moral code that tells us right from wrong. But we also don't want to deal from FOMO, fear of missing out, which is a term that recently is around. We don't want to have FOMO. We don't want to miss out. We want to be accepted by people. We want to fit in. So, and I see this, my kid, 15 years old, having to wear these cut-off tops and wear makeup and dress in the style and buy these name brands and everything else. That's just because she's being influenced by TikTok. She's being influenced by advertisements. She's being influenced by music. She's becoming a puppet to the puppet master. No free will, no free thinking. She thinks it's her own decisions, but no, subconsciously, the influence is there. I can see it because I know what to look for, because I have the years of experience to understand how the 1% work, how businesses and corporations work, how all this is just to generate money. And you got to remember, everybody in the whole chain is a puppet. So think about it. You take an unknown kid who has a certain look, absolutely no skill, no talent whatsoever. You throw a bunch of management at him, a bunch of money, give him a new wardrobe, and throw a microphone in front of him, and then put a beat behind it, and then advertise the hell out of it like it's the most amazing thing. Make up fake numbers, make up fake reviews, make up a whole bunch of stuff that causes a whole bunch of hype. I think his name's Drake. But no talent, but completely made. Completely made. Doesn't even know what to sing, but completely made. Generated. It's a generated talent which is catering to a market, which promotes clothing sales, brand sales, music sales, promotes a whole bunch of stuff, but it's completely generated. No talent, but completely a generated market. And it just keeps the ball rolling. As soon as one trend is dead, they have to come up with something or revamp something. Even if it's something for 30 years ago, they're going to revamp it, spin it as new. Oh, this type of music. Oh, it's the great music. This kind of dress is the right. Oh, you got to go for this brand. You got to go for that brand. And then, you got to remember, they're catering to human nature. They're catering because everybody wants to be accepted, except for those introverts, outcasts like I was growing up. Didn't care much for style, didn't care much for brands, but I'm usually the exception to the rule. But a lot of other people have those insecurities. And don't get me wrong, I had insecurities too, but not as much. I learned to stand on my own 2 feet at a young age. That's the benefit of being bullied. And I stood on my own 2 feet. I walked my own walk, dressed my own dress. I mean, I changed my dress when I was in high school only to impress a girl, but it wasn't name brands. Hell no. It was army surplus and, a bunch of other stuff, but that's another story. The thing is that in human nature, we have flaws. Once upon a time, we were focused mainly on our instincts. Survival of the fittest, do what you can to survive, everything else. But the reality is that we've evolved beyond that. We should have a level of intelligence that we don't have to rely on our instincts. So using your instincts as an excuse for why you do what you do is, in my opinion, bullshit. There's no excuse for unsavory, unmoralistic acts because of, my will to survive or all that crap. No, we've evolved to the point where we should be intelligent enough to not have to do that. There's enough on this planet for everybody. There's no reason why we can't get along, but people are lazy. It's another human nature trait that there are people that are lazy. If I get it for nothing, if I could just, steal it from somebody, then, I'm fine. Fortunately, that's not the good integrity way to go. You should be working. You should be earning what you have, earning what you have in your life. And if you want to have more, you work harder. That's the reality of it. And it's funny because hopefully you grow out of this whole brand name style, I have to be trendy, I have to do what everybody else is doing type thing. Unfortunately, although you should end that in your teens and in your 20s mature, fortunately not everybody does. It's a vicious game of those that have fame want to stay in the spotlight. They want to stay in the spotlight and they'll do scandalous acts, or they even do scandalous acts to be in the spotlight, like all these unknowns like Paris Hilton and Kim Kardashian that have no talent, nothing that gave them a claim to fame, but did some sex tape or something like that, which got their, them on the radar. And for some reason, people talk about them, but they don't do anything. They just exist, and they come from a rich family. And now they're supposedly famous because they got some news coverage and because they're sex tapes, and that's about it. But no talent whatsoever. Just people just know about them. And then you have others that have made a name for themselves. They are legends. Like Eminem is a legend. He has made a name for himself. He has proven himself, but he doesn't hog the spotlight anymore. He's an OG, but he doesn't need the hype. He doesn't need to be in everybody's face. He has made such a legacy for himself that he doesn't give into the machine, the puppet machine. He doesn't do all that anymore. He calls his own shots. He lives his own life, and that's what he does. That's a man to be respected. But all these teeny bopper, crazy, fad people, blah, 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 that meet, in the whole social media and trending thing and TikTok and all this other crap. Honestly, it's a vicious cycle that's been going around for generations upon generations. And only a select few actually see beyond it and don't fall for the trap, but a majority do, unfortunately. And it comes down to, again, perspective and lack of communication. Teenagers don't realize, kids don't realize they're all going through similar things. Teenagers don't realize they're all going through the same things. They always think that they're the exception and no one else is going through the same stuff. So they get all concerned and worried and everything. So they figure they want to be accepted. So they bug the parents to buy them all this stuff that they don't really need, but because their friends have it, they need it too. And it's just be so much easier if we all just learn to communicate and get along. So back to the original thing. Human nature is just a bizarre thing, but there's two sides to this. There's the good and then there's the bad. Saying negative, toxic things to other people to make yourself feel better, I'm sorry, you're the lowest of the low. If you have to bring somebody else down to bring yourself up, you have a problem, and you should actually talk to somebody about that. Because the better way to do it is bring other people up. Because the more people we bring up, the more positivity we have. The more people we encourage, the more positivity we have. The more people we try to understand them and see their perspective, no matter where they're from, what culture they're from, however their way of life is, whatever faith they have, whatever. If we actually make a point as humans to sit down and communicate and try to understand each other's perspectives, the better we will get along. And think about that. If you do something positive to encourage somebody else, you're going to inspire them, and they're going to be inspired to help others. And you, like I've always mentioned about the domino effect, it's a domino effect. You do good, it promotes good. You do bad, it promotes bad. People getting scared, people get violent, people get up in arms. So you start breaking the law, you start doing crimes, you start shooting people, you start doing all this quick buck type thing, or because, you want to be respected, so you're going to go out and shoot somebody because you think that's how you earn respect. No, you're not earning respect, my friend. Breaking the law because you think you can get away with it to make a quick buck, that's just cheap and underhanded. You're a crook. Nothing honorable about you. You go out and shoot somebody looking for respect, you don't get respect. People get scared and they fear, but they don't respect you. I'll tell you one thing, they'll probably take you out first chance they get. You want to constantly look over your shoulder because you decide to get violent? You take somebody out, somebody cared about that person you took out, somebody's going to come after you. You're going to take out the whole world? Because it's a domino effect. People know people know people know people know people. And as long as somebody loved that person that you took out, somebody's coming after you too. And before you know it, you're taken out and the vicious cycle continues. Around and round we go, people. Doesn't get you anywhere. But if two different sides sat down and discussed it, tried to figure each other out, tried to come to a compromise, tried to come to some peaceful way to promote each other, build each other up, and actually have a peaceful existence, think about how much further we'd get. Instead of destruction, we would get construction, okay? We would actually get societies built, safe neighborhoods, people who will feel confident about doing what they need to do every single day. Think about how that could grow as if humans, we could actually learn to sit down and talk and get together and compromise and understand each other and have empathy for each other. Think about how much further we'd be. But instead, I see a lot of trying to outdo each other, trying to one-up each other. And I'm sorry, but telling somebody they're wrong, or telling somebody that they're unmoralistic, there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to make it rainbows and butterflies and unicorns for everybody. Like, oh, everybody's doing their hard work and everybody's doing the best job they can and love everybody. I understand that, but there's nothing wrong with constructive criticism. There's nothing wrong with telling somebody, hey, you know what? You're getting naked on camera. There's a better way that you could do stuff rather than having to lower yourself to that, okay? There is better ways. We can get you educated. We can get you skills in an actual distinguished career, something that you want to do, something that you could feel proud of at the end of the day and be able to rest at night. If you want to take the shortcuts and take the cheap way out in order to make the almighty buck, that's fine. But at the end of your years, you're going to sit back and think, wow, you know what? I've exposed every part of my body to everybody in the world. I'm just so proud of myself. Don't think anybody's saying that. But to think that you made a positive difference in the world and made a change that helped a lot of people, I don't think you get naked in front of camera is going to do it. But there's nothing wrong with telling people, hey, there's a better way, and helping them and encouraging them and trying to point out to them that maybe their decisions they made are probably, you could have made them better. You could have did something different. Looking at a negative, looking at something that is probably hurting somebody and helping them work through it and out of it so they don't have to be in that. Unless for some reason they absolutely want to, and this is something that they chose a path in, then, hey, more power to them. But besides that, you can always recognize when somebody needs help, but it's within us to help others. Take the time to actually help others. Understand people. Sit down, see their perspective, compromise, understand, have compassion, and work it out. I mean, I didn't need to read these negative comments about the Queen from some snot-nosed little friggin' teenage kid who doesn't know anything about the world and just made a harsh comment because he wanted to impress his friends. I wanted to smack him, honestly, him or her or whoever it was, because that was uncalled for. There's a lot of people that respected the Queen. There is a waiting line of 30 hours of people that are actually going to see the Queen and pay their respects. 30 hours. You don't think she has respect? People from all over the world are flying to go pay their respects to her. You can't tell me this person wasn't respected. So your immature little comments, oh, I'm glad the bitch is gone, give your head a shake. You got a problem. Okay. So I had to get that off my chest because that really, really, really bugged me when I read that crap. Really bugged me. And okay, if their intention was to get a rise out of people, good job, you did it. You made people hate you. So if you're not feeling the hatred of energy around you, just so you know it's coming for you. They might not know who you are, but I'm pretty sure that negative energy will find you. And guess what happens with negative energy when it surrounds around somebody? So you know what happens with negative energy? It ends up multiplying. So your negativity compacted with other people's negativity towards that comment will find you, resonate around you, negative stuff happen to you. It's an interesting concept, but it's the domino effect. One leads to the other, end of story. Do positive, same results. Do positive comes to you, positive things happen to you, and so on and so on and so on. Listen, being inspirational to inspire other people with good deeds, good words, good comments is the way that the world needs to go. We're living in some really crazy times right now. I mean, bizarre times. If anybody told me that the last 5 years is going to be the way it is, I would have been like, you're on crack. Honestly, I would have said, wow, you're on crack, because I don't believe how you think that this could happen. But everything that I've seen in that time period has really, really given me theory to some of my conspiracy ideas that were thrown into a completely different reality. Because the last 5 years have been so bizarre, I couldn't even imagine them. And I'm still trying to find a way to get back to before Trump. I'm trying to find a way to get back to the Obama years. And yeah, unfortunately, the US is the benchmark when it comes to time events because of the impact they have on the world market. But I'm trying to find a way to get back to that timeline personally, but that's just me. Don't get me wrong. I'm not without fault. We all have our faults. We all have our ideas. We all have our feelings. We all have all the stuff that we go through. The problem is that we all think we have the answers. We all think we got it all figured out. We all think that we know what's going on. We all think that we got a master plan that's going to work. But you got to understand, every generation's making the same mistake over and over and over again, because we're not actually sitting down and talking it out and figuring it out. We are just covering it up. There's no reason why racism should have been a thing at this point in time. There's no reason that there should be a lot of the atrocities that happen in the world at this time. There's no reason that this stuff is still carrying on in 2022. I mean, my viewpoints of the world at this point, flying cars, equality for everybody, peace, harmony, safety, everybody was provided for. That was my viewpoint of 2022 when I was growing up. I was like, oh my God, can you believe it? When it comes to the year 2000, oh, it's just going to be amazing. The stuff we're going to have, the technology, but the civil unrest, the wars, the things that we're doing, this is not what I expected. But do we actually have to get down to the last two people in existence for us to finally get along? It's not the reality I want, not the world I want. Human nature's got to change, really has to change. We have to learn to communicate. We have to learn to compromise. We have to learn to stop doing these atrocities because we are so ignorant to realize that our actions don't have consequence. We're so ignorant to think that what we do doesn't have consequence. I saw a video of a 7-Eleven out in the West Coast being raided by a bunch of freaking teenagers and kids and everything else. And I'm like, you guys are idiots. You're just going to make that store close down or the prices go up or people to be out of jobs. Behavior like that's just stupid. Yeah, and you see stuff like, almost you don't want to read the news. You don't want to see the news. You don't want to read stuff online. You don't want to see anything that's on Twitter. You don't want to do any of that because all you see is strife, pain, arguing, warring. You see all this stuff and there's really no need for it, people. You got to understand that. Help each other, help your neighbor, try to communicate and sit down and understand and have empathy and compassion. Find out what integrity means, okay? Find out what integrity means. Find out what that means. And no, you're not a free, dumb protester of bull crap, which is frankly, wow, where are those guys' tinfoil hats? Because they're completely in left field. They have some compelling and convincing, stories to tell to try to convince people. And yes, the sheep are going to follow that way. But unfortunately, you're just looking at a cult that's trying to form that's going to basically cause more unrest. And it's just chaos in that particular case, but it's almost comical to watch. But be careful about any leaders that are throwing around buzzwords. Be careful about anybody that's throwing around big words to try to trigger you in a patriotic way. Try to inspire you with these big words that just resonate with you, like they do in the States when they brainwash everybody that's American. They brainwash them. Oh, die for your country is righteous. There's been no reason to die for a country for the longest time. It's just something that's engraved into you to believe that, you're the greatest, you're this, you're that, because that's what you're fed. You're brainwashed into believing this. It's like people that grow up in poor neighborhoods and end up falling into the gangs. They're brainwashed to believe that, we're here for you, we'll back you up. But then you become a human shield for when their bosses or the leaders of the gang want to, get into a gunfight. You're the ones that are taking the bullets. Same with our politicians. Unfortunately, until we get the political stage right, you're going to see that. They're going to put the workers, they're going to put the everyday working person on the front line to take the hits, to take the accidents, to take the pain and strife while they're sitting in their chairs. You got to be careful about who you follow. But you can change tomorrow if you start today. You can change today's leadership. You can change the world. You can change the next generation. That can be done, but you have to correct your thinking and you have to learn to sit down and everybody talk and work out their differences. Picking on color of skin, on religion, on faith, on cultural, picking on all these trivial things which absolutely mean nothing are completely stupid. They are the way that people are and the way they choose to live their life. And if they're not hurting anybody, then leave them the hell alone. Let them live their lives and everybody just get to what needs to be done for the human species and for the planet. And right now, as I mentioned in other episodes, it's all about dealing with, one, the environmental crisis, and two, getting the politicians, the political stage, the warring countries, all that, settle down and work towards a peaceful existence where we can provide for everybody. It's doable, but we have to make the commitment. But it starts with you. It starts with you. It's not your government's responsibility for everything. It's not your neighbor's responsibility for everything. Even you can do the right thing. You can learn to get along with that person that you don't see eye to eye with. You can learn to try to understand people that get in your way. You can learn to not be so abrasive and so tough guy or girl in front of somebody because that's your protective measure. Get all tough and puff up and, don't mess with me type thing because you're insecure. Because you're insecure, so you put the tough front on because you don't want you to become a victim because you want to be tough so nobody comes at you. Why don't you sit down and try to actually talk to somebody like a normal human being? Try that for a change. Try talking to people. Try to settle the differences. Try to find a common good, a common goal. Work together towards peace. Otherwise, you're just making yourself look like an idiot. And you're stealing your own fate, because negative breeds negative, positive breeds positive. Find the inspiration that's going to inspire you, inspire your neighbor, inspire the person down the street, inspire a community. Find that inspiration. Change your human nature to learn to accept people and learn to get along with people. And for Christ's sakes, listen to educated people from previous generations that have already made the mistakes, have already seen the problem, and know the solution. Don't think you have all the answers. Learn from somebody that's had some life behind them. And last but not least, stop falling for trends. Seriously, it is the company, name brand company's number one way to manipulate you and head screw you left, right, and center. It goes into media, it goes into videos, it goes into this, and it goes into that, and everybody thinks they have to have it, so they go out and spend ridiculous amounts of money on a freaking shoe that's worth $10, but because it says a name brand on it, boom, guess what? Now it's $300, and it's the same value as a $10 shoe. But FOMO, fear of missing out. People don't want to miss out. People want to be trendy, want to be accepted by everybody. Walk your own walk, talk your own talk. Enough with the bullshit. That's all I'm saying. So that's about it. Human nature, inspiration, and trends. Don't be a sheep. Walk your own walk. Know what's right from wrong. Listen to your moral self. Try to be the change the world needs, and a positive change. I keep looking back in footage of past generations and past decades, and I keep looking at this going, why do we still make the same freaking mistakes over and over and over again? Why are we always fighting? Why are we always warring with each other? Why is there always violence? Why is there always crime? There's no need for it. One element points to another element as being the fault, and the other element picks at the other. So the working person points at the government points at this department, and so on and so forth. And everybody's just finger pointing rather than taking responsibility at their own level. Responsibility for themselves. They're not taking their own responsibility. You're at fault. I'm at fault. We're all at fault because we have to try harder, but it's so easy to not try. Just shy away from it. Just pretend it doesn't happen. Just let it happen. I'm not going to step in. Like that kid that I saw got beat down in a video this week on Twitter. Oh, okay. So I really hate using colors. I really hate using colors because I truly believe everybody's equal. And so using a color to me is derogatory, but unfortunately that's the way the world works. I saw a black kid beat down a smaller white kid. The white kid was half the black kid's size. Beat the crap out of him, crushed his ribs, put him in hospital. Oh, but that's acceptable because, oh, well, you know, we can't call that racism. But if it was the other way around, oh my God, the parades, the warring, the arguing, oh, people, there'd be riots, there'd be everything else. If that white kid beat down that black kid, oh, it'd be a different story altogether. Yeah, all together. No. Tit for tat goes one way, goes the other. I don't care how much melatonin you have in your skin or lack of melatonin. People are people, okay? Don't make it about race. Don't make it about race. And this political positioning, I've seen too many excuses because, yes, I agree that minorities or people of color, I'm not sure how I should be saying it these days that's politically correct, but yes, they've been persecuted, and there's no reason they should still be persecuted in today's day and age, but not all of them are being persecuted. But to give them so much freedom and turning a blind eye to stuff because some people are feeling guilty or feeling that they should get away with stuff no, there's still laws to be followed. You should not be getting away with this stuff because there's some level of guilt from some higher up rich white guy. I'm sorry, but no. Laws are laws. People are people. People are all equal. People should all be recognized as all equal, and that's just the way it is. If you're a law-abiding citizen, a law-abiding citizen, you deserve the rights and equalities and freedoms as everybody else. I don't care where you're from, your color or creed or faith or whatever. It doesn't matter to me. Everybody should be equal. We can't keep playing the same cards over and over again, people, because the only way we're going to change things is if we change the ways that we go about doing stuff. Because if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you always got. And that's why it's got to change. And that change has got to start with you. Got to start with you. You have to start it and convince other people to start it. Change. Be the change that the world needs. And I'm sorry, freedom protests don't cut it. That's a bunch of bullshit. That's hiding behind a blanketed agenda on a political stage that a lot of these sheep don't realize they're being manipulated for a greater goal, which in the long run ends up being a financial gain for somebody sitting in a nice, comfy, big house with more money than they need in a lifetime. And they don't realize that they're being a pawn, unfortunately. That's not the way to go about doing it. Start small. Try and inspire people on a good and not a negative. That's the best thing you can do, but you have to start. And you get enough people into doing the right thing and correcting people when they're doing the wrong and correcting them in a compassionate way, okay? Unless they really commit violent crime. And then frankly, you know what? I support capital punishment. A lot of people don't like that sentiment, but I do. I'm sorry, you do a violent crime? I think you don't belong in society and that should be it. But that's just my viewpoint. A lot of people will say, oh, it's just wrong. You know, people have a right to life and everything else. Not when they take life from other people. Not when they hurt other people, not when they emotionally scar or mentally scar other people. I think they've kind of forfeited that card. They forfeited that right when they do that. And no matter how much reconditioning, and that becomes a really fine line because, oh, maybe they don't do it, maybe they do it. Well, I'm sorry, that's another thing that for another show, another topic we will cover. Just live right. Have a moral code. Know what integrity is. Learn what integrity is. And learn to be the change the world needs, because you got to remember, somebody you love is getting hurt by actions of what you're doing, or could be hurt by actions that you're doing. Remember that, because you choose to do something, believe it or not, down the chain, somebody else you care about, somebody else you love could get hurt. Change your ways so everybody can change their ways. So somebody that you love or care about will not get hurt. Something to think about, eh? You don't really think about that when you do these stupid things, when you do these stupid crimes, when you act these certain stupid ways. That chain reaction is going to have a domino effect, and it's going to come back to you, or it's going to come back to somebody you love and care for. Huh? Something to think about, right? You might want to think about that one. Maybe just a little more. Okay. So I know I'm a little here, I'm a little there, but it's just been a really frustrating couple of weeks, as I mentioned. And I just don't know why we can't all fucking get along. Yeah, I'm sorry, but I usually don't swear unless it really, really deserves it, but I really don't fucking understand why we can't get along. At this far in our evolution, why we are not more advanced, more sophisticated, more enlightened, why we are not further along as a human species, as the species, because honestly, we're going to follow the same fate as Rome. We are going to be an advanced civilization that's going to crumble in on itself if we don't take a good look at the world and our societies and everything around us and say, hey, damn it, we got to do something different. Like now, not next week, not next month, not let's talk about this for the next decade. We got to do something now because we're actually running out of time. There's bigger effects on us than just the everyday. There's little effects than just what's happening in your neighborhood. There's little effects just happening in your city. Look at your city now. If you've been there for well over 20, 30 years, look at how it used to be back then, 20, 30 years ago. And look how it is now. Compare. You're going to see there's a lot of differences. And that's just going to snowball. Anyways, and then because of the greater scale things, it's going to be a lot more than just the everyday. It's going to be catastrophic type things because the planet is unhappy with us and we haven't taken care of the planet. It's going to get rid of us before it gets rid of anything else. It's going to survive. We're not going to. All right. That's about it before I start babbling on anymore. Honestly, people, listen to that voice. If you've learned anything about what it's like to live right, if you learned anything about what it's like to do the right thing, just do it. But think about it. Think about the consequences of your actions. Think about what you do before you do it. And think, are you being manipulated by somebody who's trying to convince you of doing an action that you know is not right? Just think about the consequences all the way around. Because people don't mind throwing other people on the bus or throw it under the bus. People don't mind throwing other people under the bus if they feel it has no consequence on them. Are you willing to pay the price for something that somebody else wants? Or are you going to do the right thing? Okay. That's about it. I think I'm done for this week because I am exhausted. And I just frankly started watching, I think it's called Designated Survivor. So I'm going to go watch some more of that because that seems to be a pretty interesting show. But other than that, hey, you know what? I have faith in human nature. I have faith in the species. I just wish that we would all learn to get along and stop trying to take from each other and start trying to help each other. That's all I'm hoping for. I'm hoping we can get closer to that in my lifetime, that we can finally stop and say, hey, you know what? This isn't working. We got to do something different and do it. Don't just talk about it. Honestly, I think we should abolish money, but that's a whole different ball of wax because I've had arguments on both sides with that. Because I think a lot of this comes down to greed. It comes down to greed. They figure they have to have money and do whatever they can to get the money to be able to have the life that they want. But, okay. Well, you know what? Hey, please keep your integrity in check. If you don't know what integrity means, I'm actually probably going to put something on our website that gives you the definition so you understand it, because I think a lot of people are failing what that means. Other than that, please check out GetOffMySoapbox.com. Speaking, of course, of the website, you can find out more information on this show of Get Off My Soapbox and also our daily show, Monday to Friday, usually posted before noon. It's a short format show, roughly about 5 to 8 minutes, depending, of Soapbox Daily. Check us out there. Also, I'd love to hear your feedback and comments and everything else, and please try to keep them constructive and positive. I have enough of the trolls. Head on over to Twitter, Mad Soapbox. You can find us over on Twitter at Mad Soapbox. All our social links are on the top of our website, of course, at GetOffMySoapbox.com. Also, other than that, as I mentioned, we're heading on over to Facebook. You can find us there as well. We're slowly but surely trying to get the word out. So spread the word about us. Share our shows or whatever. Please let more people know. My goal here, my time put into this, is to try to make a change for the better for everybody on this planet, for everybody of 8 billion of us. I just want to make things a better world because we've been failing at it for decades and it's just getting worse. We need to make it better. We need to learn to get along. Compromise, communication. Communication is number one. Ignorance and arrogance, we got to get rid of those too. All right, be the better person. Check your integrity. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up for this Wednesday. Thank you again for being here. I very much appreciate you being here and listening tonight. Really, really hope I'm making a difference. And I know some feedback has come back to me. I've had some DMs and messages and emails that have come at me and some really positive reinforcing messages that have come my way. And people are appreciating the show and appreciating what we're doing here. And that really keeps me inspired to keep going with each and every episode that I do. So thank you very much for those emails and those DMs. It really does mean a lot to me. So, okay, so I'm going to wrap this up for this week. Hey, again, we're here every Wednesday evening for Get Off My Soapbox. I will be back again tomorrow morning for Soapbox Daily, as I am every weekday between Monday and Friday. By all means, check us out in the mornings on Soapbox Daily. And of course, more information and links go from the main website. Other than that, have yourself a good rest of the evening. If you're different parts of the day, different parts of the world, I hope you have a great day or a great afternoon or a great evening, wherever you are. Thank you again for being here. I'm your host, Mad Morgan. I will see you next episode. Take care until then.
That's all for this episode of Get Off My Soapbox podcast. Appreciate you tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to support the podcast, please share it with others, post it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from Mad Morgan, head over to GetOffMySoapbox.com for links and details. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to follow so you don't miss the next episode.